This is the Athletic Football Show.
Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays. Joining me tonight, it's my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. That one felt special. That felt like a special performance. I'm glad I got to share it. And watching your hometown team, your favorite team, like something that you cherish more than anything. I'm so glad you get to share it with all of us, and I get to join you as you share it with all of us. That was just a wonderful Thursday night game with the first touchdown scored by Mir Smith Marset on a
That's
punt
when I
return.
was worried that something bad was going to happen.
I was like, this is that kind of night.
That's when I was worried that something bad was going to happen, that they were going to somehow lose this game when that happened.
That was Drew Barrymore dying in the first scene. Yeah, that was there's something different about this one.
I want to read some of the comments in the chat so far. The Blunt Doctor says, I was in jail for 24 hours once, and I'm not sure if this was better or worse than this game, but I know it felt shorter. The Greek Trojan says, I'm pretty sure Robert could go to Athletic HR and report watching this game as an OSHA violation. Alex Lauderbeck says, Amazon not only has the audacity to brag about AWS making the schedule, they gave themselves that game.
That's a good one.
I appreciate you guys really bringing it, because that's the only way to talk about what we just saw. I don't know where you want to start. I think we have to start with the state of the Carolina Panthers offense. So looking at True Media, and this is one number to outline this, they had like a 27% success rate tonight. It was one of the 6 worst games so far this season. The competition, this is stuff we're talking about. The Patriots against the Saints.
Okay.
Clayton Tune against the Browns.
That's the week I picked the Patriots too. That was Tice's tout special right there. But keep going on. Sorry.
Week 1, Bengals, with Joe Burrow not being able to move against the Browns. The Browns have 4 of the 6 games.
Yeah.
So the Carolina Panthers offense just turned this Chicago Bears defense into the Cleveland Browns.
I told you that Montez Sweat move. It's just good.
That was it.
That was the spark. As much as I have been encouraged by the Bears' defensive performance the last month-ish, 3-4-ish weeks, but this was a different level because of who they were facing, and that was exactly what it is. You're making them feel like the Browns, who we talked about as probably the defensive player of the year, and all this talent up front. Oh my God, they're playing like this, and that's how the Panthers are making a lot of defenses feel. A lot of defenses have had good performance against this offense because they just can't get anything going against anybody, it seems like.
This is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad. And they showed a graphic, and they were showing some of the results we've seen, some of the production we've seen from rookie quarterbacks, guys drafted first overall over the last 10 years, and how bad some of those first seasons were. Well, a lot of the coaching staffs that drafted those guys got fired.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Jeff Fisher with Jared Goff, Urban Meyer with Trevor Lawrence. Like, those are the types of results we're talking about. And I don't know if it gets that bad, but there are elements of what they're putting on the field offensively where we can try to extricate the blame and get into some of this right now. But what they're putting out there right now, this is bottom of the barrel stuff that is truly concerning on pretty much every single level.
It's the same when I was watching that Urban Meyer led offense with, Ed Bevel and Schottenheimer, I believe the play callers, the offensive play callers for that Jaguars team Trevor's rookie year. And I was like, it's a NFL standard offense. Mm-hmm. And I would say that about the Panthers as well, but that actually is not like a good thing. I'm realizing is that because when you don't have the players or just any of the situation to lift that up and make it better, or a rookie quarterback, which is tough living for most people, for most rookie quarterbacks, that's what it looks like. It looks so bare bones. But the last sequence, that last drive, if you just want to say, oh, they're trying to make it like a standard offense just to get the training wheels going, get everything going, that's one thing. But then watching that clock management, that game management at the end of the game, that's where you're like, oh, this isn't good. Or just several things where are showing
3rd and 10 timeout, takes them 5 minutes to get past midfield.
It's a 15-play drive. 15-play drive that started with over 7 minutes, and it went through the 2-minute warning. And so because that's kind of like an indicator, that's a symptom of I think what's wrong right now. I just think there's a lack of inspiration going on, and it just doesn't feel right, especially on the offensive side. And it's just this offense is the mouthwash for every other defense that plays it. It really is, and it just makes it feel good, doesn't it? And so it's just, but this has been all season long. There's nothing really, even maybe a little bit outside their bye week, that first game. It was just, after that, it's just been nothing inspiring.
We had so many conversations this offseason about what the offense would look like and all the guys they got and the headlines that they kind of reeled in when they were signing all these guys. And really, it was an all-star coaching staff. I mean, that's the way that they were talking about it. That's how they were trying to sell it. Thomas Brown, their offensive coordinator, who was with the Rams, was in demand. They got Josh McCown to be their quarterback coach, who had been in the running to be the Texans head coach. Right. Think about the butterfly effect of that now.
Unbelievable, right?
With what D'Amico Ryans has been doing and Bobby Slowick being there. Just think about that. Think about it. Sometimes the best moves you make are the ones that you don't. Right. So you have that plus Ejiro Evero, and they won the headlines as far as assembling that coaching staff went. And it's been as bad as you could possibly imagine. And when I was looking at the offensive staff, one of the biggest questions I had was, what will the offense look like?
Yeah.
Structurally, what will it be? Because you have these guys coming from different places. And you're talking to a couple people there during training camp. You know, Thomas Brown comes from the Rams where they're doing all of this motion. And so that has that kind of dynamic element. And then you have the baseline stuff that Frank used to run when he was in Indy. And so I'm like, I'm thinking of, so some of the Frank Reich stuff plus a little bit more dynamic elements. It's very, what I had in mind was actually kind of similar to what the Jags offense looked like last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you have that standard Doug Peterson stuff, and they come from a similar place, right? They were together in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And then Press Taylor was away from him for a couple years, and they added a ton more motion, a lot more under center movement stuff with Trevor. So you had the baseline Doug Peterson philosophy and identity combined with some seasoning from guys who had looked around the league and said, all right, how can we make this a little bit more exciting? This is none of that. It's not, it doesn't look anything like I thought it might. And it has really set their quarterback up to fail with the personnel, the structure of the offense, but he is not blameless here. I think that there's also a conversation about what Bryce Young has done and the way he's played that has to happen at this stage, especially when you compare it to what some of these other rookie quarterbacks are doing.
Sometimes these warts, until they get held up into the light, it's like we don't talk about them. We try to ignore them, brush them aside. And now that they get held up to the light, it's like, oh, that's pretty ugly. You should get that checked out. The offense, you brought up a great point. We had a conversation a few weeks ago when we were first kind of like glimpsing at, like, kind of maybe peeking at it, like a half a chalk outline that was going on. And we're like, what's going on with this offense? And that we were saying, like, because they come from different places, that they run the thing that they share the most. And maybe that's why I'm like, it's that standard NFL offense. I thought that was a great point. But they run so much quick game, and it feels so condensed. They don't have any guys that can really break tackles. Quick game, you need guys that can.
No yak guys, no speed.
Nope. And that's what makes the Jags offense go is, yes, it's very horizontal. And usually I don't really like horizontal attack offenses like that, but they have so much motion and they have so much speed. Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, I mean, Calvin Ridley now. Like, these guys can go. Even Jamal Agnew, even though, like, as a gadget guy, he can go, but they give these guys out in space and bubbles and moving.
There's a kill for Jamal Agnew right now.
I know. When I saw Chenault out there, I was like, oh, there's Trevor Lawrence's receiver too. God,
that's such a good point. It's such a good point. Just another similarity between that Urban Meyer experience and the one that we're watching right now.
It feels very similar. I mean, it's a lot of, what's his name? Mike Strachan from Charlotte. I remember him. Was it?
Strawn.
Okay. Yeah. But he was from Charlotte. I remember, I could tell you all about his background. Former track guy, tried out a receiver and was like just running past people. I remember.
Former Colts training camp star.
Yes.
That's why he's currently in Carolina.
Exactly. It's a lot of those. Amir Smith-Marset, that's another guy going on over there. And he's not even on the field there. It's like, they just have nothing in the offensive line that I was optimistic about, like, just took such a step back. And they nothing feels big, or it feels like it's getting movement. They don't feel like they're picking up anything. It feels like someone's making a mistake. And then it also, like Bryce Young doesn't have those traits to erase the mistakes. That's why you want traits like arm and size and speed, is to erase errors of others and ones that you are making if you go to the wrong spot. That's why you go for the traits. And if he's wrong or he's a step slow, defenses have, or a hair slow throwing the ball, like DBs have an extra half second to make a play on the ball. We saw one right up the sideline. I can't remember who he was targeting. I think Marshall. And he targets it right at the left sideline. Stevenson just turns around and is like, oh, you just passed the ball down. And that happens over and over. He has no room for error. And you just kind of see it happening week after week.
When I was looking at Bryce Young, I don't want to bury him because we've done this too often. I've done this too often with young quarterbacks in bad situations. Where I'm like, there's no way. He's shot. Like that's just that guy is not. That's not feasible. We're not going to be able to get to the right place with that guy. And I don't want to do that, but he wasn't supposed to be in that bad of a situation. Even if the supporting cast is worse than we thought it would be. And the receivers, I think we pretty clearly during the preseason was like, this team doesn't have any juice. Even if the offensive line was a little bit worse, I still felt like the people in charge would be able to construct something where it wasn't throwing him to the wolves constantly. It wasn't one of these awful offenses where the guy just has no chance. And that's what it feels like right now. And it's just year one of this coaching staff. It was supposed to be the opposite of that. You were supposed to have a group that would at least give you a shot.
Yeah.
And the opposite of that has happened. And I don't know what they do from here. I mean, they have an owner that has been famously impatient. So it feels like if it continues at this pace and they have more embarrassing outings like this, that anything could potentially be on the table. And that is a wild consideration when you think about where we were this summer.
And what they gave up for Bryce Young. And I mean, just the lack of assets there. He also just fired his MLS manager. So he might have a little, in the season, itchy trigger finger, but they showed him at the end of the game and he did not like being on camera. He was not happy about that. And I'm sure that he feels that. I mean, just remember the AJ Brown and Philadelphia thing against Tennessee. Owners do not like being showed up. I will tell you that. They do not like being the laughing stock, at least most of them. But it just feels wrong. They were supposed to be just like that going into the season, like even having a Thielen and a DJ Chark. It's like, okay, vets. Okay,
we're supposed to be adults in the room at every level.
Yeah. Like almost like imagine, like, I'm not saying this is the exact team, but this is like the idea that they're trying to go for. That 2017 Rams kind of like, okay, but like just, okay, we got these vet and this vet. Okay, we're going to be fine. We'll be solid, but they just don't have the imagination that Rams team always showed. It's just, they don't have that spark and they don't have the dudes also that doesn't hurt, or that does hurt when you don't have even Robert Woods. But yeah, or a young Cooper Kupp. So I think, or Todd Gurley, but that's the thing. They signed Miles Sanders. And it's just, I don't know.
Every move they made, the Thielen thing is the only thing that's worked. It's the only thing that's worked. And when that being your best receiver and him being the number one option by so far, it's not a good thing. That's a problem. And so it's so funny that you mentioned the 2017 Rams, because the 2017 Rams are the team that saved Jared Goff from the disgusting circumstances he was in as a rookie. And the fact that this looks more like the 2016 Rams than the 2017 Rams, that's where the problem lies. Yeah. So I don't know what happens. I mean, this is a really bad situation, and it doesn't feel like it's getting any better anytime soon.
Well, and even like the guy they drafted this year, Jonathan Mingo, more of a project. A lot of people like him. I liked him. Other people I trust, Derek Klassen. We all kind of were the same idea of him. He needs some room to grow. He has traits that you want to build off of because he's kind of like a hybrid player. You're trying to figure him out. That's not really what you want. Like, you can't give that guy reps and they're putting him on the outside and he's running like stop routes and like static routes. And it's like, no, you want this guy in the move. And so like that didn't make sense. Wouldn't you want a guy on
the move?
Yeah,
no one within this offense is on the move.
It's the Cowboys offense without like anything. Like, it's just that you strip down from that. And it's just, it's not good stuff. And this is week after week. I mean, now we're 10 weeks in. And this is just how it's been the entire season. Every time I've peeked at this team, at least 4 games, I've watched them. And this is exactly how it feels.
I feel bad watching it. Feel bad for Panthers fans.
Here it comes.
Feel bad for people in the
building.
Here
It comes.
It's great for me. It's
Jeez,
great for me. Listen, I have suffered so much. You let me have this. If this ends with the Bears getting the number 1 pick, it will lead to some complicated discussions.
Yes.
But now we are trending toward that direction. Coming into this season, success for the Chicago Bears to me was twofold. You get an answer on Justin Fields. We certainly have not gotten that yet for a bunch of different reasons. So let's table that for a second. Part 2, you see some development from the in-house guys that you had recently drafted. I wanted to see those guys from last year's draft and this year's draft as well start to take steps in the right direction. And we got some of that tonight. That defensive improvement, you were joking, the Montez Sweat trade did it all. But this is steps being taken by some of those younger guys. Kyler Gordon had a really nice game tonight. He's been hurt for most of the season. That's great to see. Gervon Dexter has had some nice moments over the last couple weeks. That's great to see. Jack Sanborn, who maybe should have started from the beginning of the year, continues to have some nice moments. That is what is most encouraging. Darnell Wright, right? Tevin Jenkins has been really good over the last couple weeks. So seeing the kind of underlying youth on the roster start to take steps in the right direction for the Bears, throw out the records, throw out Carolina's pick, whatever. That's the thing I will come away from this game and the last couple games starting to feel pretty good about, is that the defense has gone from being an absolute punchline to one that is at least capable of putting together performances like this. And that's really encouraging.
And there's not busts. Like when I watched a couple recent games recently, and it looks very sound. Like I'm seeing some good bones happening, which is good. I know the Sanborn thing is funny because watching him against the Saints, I'm like, they wanted to replace this guy. Like he's not bad, guys. But watching the positions that I think that the Bears have had, gaping holes at over the last year, 2 years even, and really just like see improvement there is probably just such a relief, because there's nothing worse than throwing resources at something and it just like continues to be. I mean, that's the Bears with a lot of positions sometimes anyways, but like the offensive line, like you said, you mentioned several other players, but they're just having some, even going from the Washington game when Fields was playing, but just like even since then, just at least having pockets to work from more often than not, as opposed to like that's a one-off, a drive. Now it's multiple times you can drop back and actually deliver the football down the field. I mean, DJ Moore is making plays. Cole Kmet has leveled up. I mean, the last month-ish or so, like actually guys making plays when the situation isn't great. And also just now, like you said, multiple guys on the defensive line, seeing some DBs make plays. Brisker was at the line of scrimmage a lot today. So it's nice to see those guys that were the position of need, that you're at huge question marks. Now it's like, oh, maybe some answers are coming, and answers that you like actually trust. That's nice, because then you actually build from that.
The idea that this Bears team would take similar leaps and Justin Fields would take similar leaps to like the 2022 Eagles was always so silly. They were so far behind that in the team building timeline. Like for the most part, this team is still rebuilding. They're still accruing assets. They've done some things to jumpstart that timeline. The DJ Moore thing is, let's get our quarterback further along than he was. But they're still trying to build every single bit of this roster, and they're not that close to that. They looked a lot better tonight against the Panthers than they're going to look in a lot of games. But I still feel like there are some moments and some nuggets here over the last month or so where you can say, all right, this is at least trending in the right direction. Right. I'm not going to start having the conversation about, well, what if they draft a quarterback? Should the staff oversee the quarterback? It doesn't matter. Like it truly doesn't matter right now. That is going to be a discussion for January 8th, and we will have it on January 8th. But right now, I love to see some of the just little flashes and moments that we're getting from some of the young players, especially on defense. That's it.
Yep. And some good structure happening. How about they threw the ball at that last third down? That's some trust in what you guys are doing at the moment. And actually maybe just a little bit of a dismissive wave at who you're facing. Like that was a lot of we're trusting our undrafted free agent to throw a ball like just to burn the clock. I couldn't believe it. But I thought
by the way, he's been fine. I'm good.
I know.
Like I'm ready to I'm ready to watch this offense with Justin Fields back in it.
Yes, I am too.
I'm ready
because you can see some structure happening, like actual like stuff getting built. It's
Rex
really nice.
Jones is back now.
Yes.
Even with Nate Davis hurt, they have Tevin Jenkins being able to play guard. They have 5 functional linemen. I mean, the Lucas Patrick experience is always. It's always.
I was just about to ask.
It's always a mix. It's always a mixed bag. But they have, at least 80% of the line is.
He's always finishing through the whistle and doing all the dirty work stuff, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly why they love you. It's like I know that. I know that Jill Hawley. I know that type of player.
It's funny that I tweeted out a clip of it. Roshan Johnson had a fantastic rep in pass protection, picking up a blitz, and Lucas Patrick just got knocked out his ass on the same play. It's like, can't just have a good thing. Can't just have it be nice for
not
a
clean
play.
rep. Yeah, I know. Oh, come on. We need some more Roshan Johnson in our lives.
This is, again, it's easy to get excited about what sort of picks they're going to get in the top 10 and how high those picks can be. And I think that they will have a lot of ammunition in this year's draft, but that ammunition combined with some of the things that we're starting to see from that young core of players that they've drafted over the last couple of years. Like eventually those guys have to become players. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Eventually they have to become contributors for you. And slowly but surely you're finding those guys. It reminds me, and this is a small thing, but when they're trying to trade Tevin Jenkins at last year, before last season, hanging on to that guy and just seeing, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Try him at a couple different positions, just see what you got. And eventually you get to a place where he's a plus player. He's somebody you can absolutely work with moving forward. So just keep stacking those together. Keep stacking those together. That's it.
Yeah. You're not going to always just jump from 70 overall to 90 overall everywhere. Sometimes it's getting like 70, 78, 80 to 84. Oh, okay. Here we go. And just get a bunch of those. I'm using Madden grades. That's what I picture in my head anyways. But I agree with you. Of course, I want to see Fields back with this team right now. That seems to have a little bit of good mojo going on, at least a little bit, a little bit. Cause actually I like, again, I keep using the word building upon, but I'm seeing now that I've kind of watched them a couple of weeks in a row, seeing kind of the layers they're adding on offense and defense and the stuff they're toying with. So I'm really excited now that maybe Fields coming back, they get this kind of mini bye, the 10 days to the next game. And okay, what do you have after that? Cause maybe there's some little tweaks coming off of that. So yeah, I mean, that's all you want from a team that's obviously rebuilding and reloading, is that you want them to peak at the end of the year, at least a little bit. At least you want to see stuff adding on, or at least building upon itself. So at least it's good to see that.
Some good moments from the Bears today. Can you explain the decision to not go for 2 when you are up 15-10, like they chose to do today? Is that just we don't think they could score a touchdown? They're only going to be able to kick 2 field goals. We'd rather be up by 6.
I didn't understand that one. Yeah, that's weird to me.
It didn't make sense in the moment. Still doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think there is some thinking that's like, oh, they might miss the extra point, whatever. They still have to score a touchdown, but it's kind of like, I don't know. When you at least get all the way up there, I guess. It wasn't
a master class by either one of these coaching staffs today. I'll say that much. But you know what? Doesn't really matter, because the Panthers are on track for the number 1 pick, and I will continue to revel in that, even if it's very sad to watch them right now. All right. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Ken throwing up Tankathon, which I will spend a lot of time on here over the next however long. And I know that some people are talking, well, it'd be better if the Bears lost this game, because then they could potentially have 2 top 4 picks. No. Give me the number 1 pick.
You want number 1?
Give me the number 1 pick. Getting 3 and 4, no interest to me. I at least want to be in a position where they control their own destiny. That is the spot I want to be in. So one of the first 2 picks is way more important than getting 2 top 4 picks, whatever it ends up looking like, in my opinion, at least.
We're seeing New England up there and Green Bay.
I said it last night. The race to the bottom this year is going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Because if the Giants trot out Tommy DeVito over the next however long, let's say, I mean, the Giants it's a very weird situation, but if the Giants can just get Marvin Harrison Jr. out of this, and your search for a playmaker, you now land with one. That sort of consolation prize at the end of this is very nice potentially for a team, but this is still a race to the 2 quarterbacks for sure.
Dane has 3 receivers in his top at least 20, maybe top 15, including Marvin Harrison Jr., but also a couple others. But that, I mean, so there's some talent. There's Brock Bowers, an awesome offensive tackle class. At least 3 guys, legit lottery picks, maybe even more than that. So if you need offense, this is the draft for you. Yeah, there's some guys on offense in this draft, which is like very much needed right now for a lot of teams, especially those teams at the top. I think they would like that. I don't think the Giants need a tackle though. Well, they might be a right tackle.
Yeah, they might. They don't want to need a tackle.
Yeah,
but at
so
this
they need a
stage,
receiver.
they might.
Yeah. Oh my God, they get like Bowers. They have like Darren Waller and Bowers and like and Jalen Hyatt, and just have the funkiest receiving group of all time.
All right, I'm not letting you go too far down this road. You had enough draft talk for one day. All right, that's all we got. Everyone, please check out our Week 10 preview, which also doubles as our midseason awards. So we spent way more time on midseason awards than we did.
It doubled.
Please go check that out. You can watch that on YouTube. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back here Sunday night recapping all things Week 10. Until then, really appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.